He said that I could not refuse my melancholy nature. The satisfaction of composing an overture for a tragedy was too much. But then he never went on to say what the tragic circumstance was. Was it a book that he read or a play? Was it a personal issue? No one knows, nor did he bother to explain. I think at the time, the title tragic was not the original title. I think he was shopping around for titles. Dramatic Overture was one of them. Melancholy Overture was one, but none of those really hit home. So Tragic Overture was the one that stuck, but as far as we know, there's no specific tragedy involved. I wanted 2013 to be the start of a year-long celebration, I'd say, of Benjamin Britten's music. Benjamin Britten would have been 100 years old in 2013, so I wanted to honor a composer that I feel very close to. I've always admired his music since I was a teen, and the work I wanted to start this celebration was the Symphonia de Requiem. It was written in 1940, and the whole first movement is like a wailing funeral march. The second movement is often called the Dance of Death. It's a very, very rapid movement, and it is maybe the dramatic climax of the piece. And then at the very end of the Dance of Death, it begins to disintegrate and falter. And then it leads immediately without pause into the last movement, which is Requiem Aeternam, which begins with a flute trio of a very soothing nature. And by the end of the piece, one feels like you've been through an enormously emotional experience, but there's a hint of optimism, or at least a feeling of peace by the end. Efim Bronfman is our soloist on this program, and he specifically asked to play the Brahms First Piano Concerto, which I'm always happy to do. There's a very unusual story of Brahms and his closest friends, who were Robert and Clara Schumann. And there will always be conjecture about the relationship between Clara Schumann and Brahms. I think Brahms was extraordinarily fond of her. I don't think that was ever acted upon in other than a very romantic way outside of a physical romantic sense, I'd say. Robert Schumann and Brahms were very, very close, and I don't think he would ever do that to his best friend. But there was certainly a lot of passion and feeling for Clara, and I believe it was she who encouraged him to write a symphony, get his symphony chops going, so to speak. But Brahms was very intimidated by Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which was in the key of D minor, by the way. So Brahms decided he would give it a go, but wrote this music that he wanted to shape in the form of a symphony in D minor, but it never quite got there, and he just didn't feel it was strong enough to be a worthy successor to Beethoven. So it was reformatted as a sonata for two pianos, and maybe Clara was to be the other pianist, I'm not sure. And eventually that sonata for two pianos morphed again and became his first piano concerto. It has the same stormy feel at the start as Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. As I mentioned, it's in the same key. And like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, it ends in D major, not D minor. So there are certain parallels to that great work.